the Poncho, not even an app, it's a Poncho emailing list, and it's really kind of fun. All you have to do is go to Poncho on Google, just do a Google search for Poncho, and I think it's poncho.is. It's got a weird domain name. And once you've gotten it, you'll get all the different updates from Poncho, and it's actually really fun. I like it a lot, just mostly because of the humor in it. I like funny apps. I like apps that don't take themselves too seriously, because I get sick of apps that are like way too serious, that are just, oh, look how cool we are. It's the most extreme, fun, hip app ever. And Poncho just doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that's really funny. But there's one particular service that is kind of amazingly bad. ReadyTN is a service from TEMA, the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, and it gives you different alerts on weather conditions and really bad traffic conditions, and it has a little interactive map, but it looks really bad. Do you remember what websites used to look like back in like the 90s, where they were just really just gaudy looking, and they had spinning skull gifs and green marble backgrounds, and they looked like something out of like a really gaudy vaporwave music video? That's kind of what the TEMA app looks like. It's just really plain. It looks like DOS. It's just bad. I don't know what ReadyTN is thinking. I mean, in terms of what it offers, it's not bad. It just looks terrible. I've never seen an app that looked as bad as ReadyTN does. And I'm not even being ironic about that. It actually looks like basically the worst thing ever. It's amazing. But the service it offers is pretty good. It gives you a nice interactive map. It shows you where things are going on in your particular area in terms of emergency alerts and what have you. By the way, most phones nowadays have emergency alerts built in, where you get an emergency alert, your phone starts buzzing, and it has that horrible screeching sound that we're all used to, where you get the emergency alert, and most of the time it's an Amber Alert, which is to say that there's a missing child, and I get those a lot on my phone. I know a lot of people are kind of sick of the emergency alerts, just because they're not really that meaningful to most of us, where it'll say a child's been kidnapped in Coffee County and I'm in Catoosa County, Georgia. I can't really do anything about that. So a lot of us are kind of sick of the whole emergency alert system, but I guess the argument is if it saves one person, then it's worth it. So whatever. But most of the time I get it for either that or for weather. Really extreme weather. We'll say there's a chance of hail in Hamilton County, which is a nice alert to get. There are a plethora of weather apps, though. I mean, tons of them. Just if I go to my Play Store right now on my phone here, I'll go there real quick. And I'm on an Android phone, so yours is probably different if you're on an iPhone. But there's still a plethora of weather apps. I'll just do a search for weather on my app store. There's the Weather Channel app, which is actually quite good. Weather Underground, which I like a lot. Transparent Clock and Weather, an app that's just called Weather. AccuWeather, which is also really good. Weather Bug. My Radar Weather Radar by Acme Atron-O-Matic. Yahoo Weather, which is also not bad. NOAA Weather International, and Grumpy Weather Widget, which has a bunch of swears in it. Just different weather apps. And really, it's sort of a take your pick sort of thing. I tend to like Weather Underground the best, and this is just my taste. The Weather Channel app is not bad either. It's got a nice interface. It's intuitive. It does look pretty. It has a live weather radar, which is really handy. But then again, so does Weather Underground. So it's kind of up to you which one you like the best. I think Weather Underground's interface is a little bit prettier. I like the way it looks. I like the way it handles. It's just a nice little app. There's really no complaint I can offer about the Weather Underground app. And again, the Weather Channel one is pretty dang good too. Now we start to get into some weird territory, because NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, NOAA, has no app. It doesn't have one. Not an official one anyway. So you can go to noaa.gov/mobile on your browser, and you'll get the really old school mobile app like they used to have before the days of dedicated mobile apps, where it was such and such .mobi. Remember that? Oh boy, the Mobi domain handle that everyone tried to get you to buy that didn't really go anywhere. Well, it did for a very short period of time back in the Symbian Nokia days, but those days have long gone. It's not 2007 anymore, and really nobody cares about .mobi. If you try to go to google.mobi, which is the one Mobi site I would expect to exist, it does not exist. It just redirects you to google.com/mobile, which tells you to buy a Nexus phone. So yeah, .mobi is really not a thing anymore. You can't expect .mobi to get you anywhere. It's .mobi. It was like a conglomerate thing where a bunch of different companies got together and decided we're going to have a domain name that everyone's going to go to for mobile apps, and it didn't pan out because now we have app stores, which was a novel idea at the time, and now it's the go-to idea for the 21st century. So yeah, .mobi didn't go anywhere. But you can go to noaa.gov/mobile. That's NOAA.gov/mobile. If you really do want a mobile NOAA weather experience, you can do that. And here's a fun sort of tip, actually. You can add that as an app on your desktop. All you have to do is, and I'll launch my browser here and I'll go to it. So it's NOAA.gov/mobile, like Mobile, Alabama. And you hit enter, or the go button, whichever it is on your particular phone, and you'll get a nice little weather app. And it's not bad looking on the phone. It's just kind of outdated. And what you can do is, if you have options in your web browser, go to page and then add to home screen. And it'll actually add this as an app on your home screen on your phone. So if you really want NOAA weather on your phone, you can do it that way. Caller, you're on the air. What's up?
Hey, it's a great app, and it's free. It's called Aviation Weather. You can actually see the GOES East and West satellite from space and watch the movement. And there's other neat features in there that pilots use when they fly. Use it on PCs. And it's called Aviation Weather. Like
Aviation
Weather. It's a pretty cool app.
Now tell me about Aviation Weather. Is that
perspective? It's a little more technical, but
I was going to say, is it going to be a little bit more accurate just because pilots kind of need a bit more information than the layman would?
I'll download it. See what you think.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Aviation Weather. Thanks. Bye.
No problem. Aviation Weather is an app that was just recommended. Aviation Weather. I'll go ahead and download that on my phone right now. Number to call in is 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949 if you want to call into Hot News Talk Radio. Aviation Weather is a weather app that was just recommended by the caller, and it's apparently a aviation weather app, obviously going by the name. It's going to be a little bit more technical than what you're normally going to get on a regular weather app. Actually, it's Aviation WX, I should say, just to be more accurate about it. WX is sort of shorthand for weather, by the way. There it is, Aviation Weather. It just popped up. I'll install that. Pilot Weather Worldwide. And what it has is it has live radar going on. It's got some really technical readouts, and it's got actually, that's really dang good. There's also aviation weather from NOAA. There are quite a few different aviation weather maps, and you can use aviationweather.gov, apparently, is a dedicated website for all the different that's kind of cool, actually, all the different weather programs that the government has out there. You'd be amazed how many government programs there are for weather monitoring, by the way. There's a fun old service. The Navy Observatory has a talking clock you can call, and it actually still has it, and it still works. But fun fact, the Navy Observatory, the U.S. Naval Observatory, which is in Virginia, I believe, off the coast, it actually has a dial-up service where you can dial in with your old dial-up modem, and it'll give you a readout of the current time, adjusted, for accuracy on your modem. So you can actually do that in the 21st century. One of the few sources that's maintaining a dial-in modem is the government. Somehow, I am not surprised. I wonder why. But yeah, there's lots of different weather apps out there. Honestly, it's just sort of a take your pick sort of thing, because they all offer essentially the same service. It's just which interface you like best. Do you like a live radar from a pilot's perspective? Then you can get the aviation weather app. Do you want a more concise, sort of pretty interface? And you can use WeatherBug. You can use AccuWeather. You can use You can use WeatherBug. What's the other one? You can use the Weather Channel. Or you can use Weather Underground, not the 1960s terrorist group that blew up statues and things. Not that Weather Underground. Different Weather Underground. But anyway, Weather Underground, actually, honestly, I'll be honest with you, I use Weather Underground more than the other ones just because I think the interface is a little bit prettier. You can get weather updates live on your phone, by the way, every time you wake up. If you have Google Now on your phone, then you can just get the cards. See, Google has this thing called cards, where it gives you the parking location for me. It gives me how long it'll take to get home. For me, it's 25 minutes. It gives me the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial 2-minute. And then it tells me what the weather's like both at home and at work. So it says 39 degrees in Catoosa County, 39 degrees in Chattanooga, and it's actually warming up quite a bit, by the way. It was 30 degrees this morning. Now it's 39. So we are now officially above freezing. Thank God for the sun, right? And it's an actually very surprisingly blue sky out there. I'm not seeing any clouds at all. No contrails or sky stripes or anything out there. Just a nice, clear blue sky looking out the window here in the Hickson studio at Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Coming up next after me, by the way, is Colin Cowherd. He is the Rush Limbaugh of sports. He's one of the top radio programs in the United States, if not the world. Colin Cowherd is on from 12 to 3 here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. And then we have Sean Hannity, and we have more Colin Cowherd. We have American Now with Megan McCain, Ground Zero, and Coast to Coast AM with George Noory, all right here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com as well, if you want to tune in on the web. Speaking of tuning in, you can get the TuneIn radio app for your phone. All you have to do is go to your app store, search for TuneIn, and then you can log in and you can actually listen to us there. So all you have to do is get the TuneIn radio app on your smartphone, just download it, and then search in the app for Hot News Talk Radio, and you'll be able to listen to us streaming live that way over TuneIn Radio. And something that's kind of interesting is TuneIn has partnered with a few different carriers to have different sports programs. Like they have NFL. They played the Clemson game yesterday where Clemson got beat by 5 points in a very upsetting game. If you're a Clemson fan, for Alabama fans, it was a very exhilarating and probably not surprising game, because it seems that Bama fans think that Alabama is utterly infallible. Behead all those who insult Alabama, saith the Alabama fan, it seems. But I don't want to get shot on my way home, so I won't say much more. I won't say much more about that. Honestly, I'm not a huge football fan. I'll follow the Georgia Bulldogs because I'm an actual fan of the Bulldogs. But other than that, I'm not really big into sports, to be quite frank with you. But Keon Rose is going to be on, by the way, Thursday, 6 to 7 here on Hot News Talk Radio. Keon Rose is back Monday through Thursday, 6 to 7 here on Hot News Talk Radio. He's our local sports expert here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240, and he's always here on hotnewstalkradio.com as well. And he's on Facebook and Twitter here on Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook and Twitter, so be sure to follow us there for all of your updates. We were live tweeting the press conference when that was going on, the press conference with the superintendent of the school, Rick Smith, Hamilton County School Superintendent Rick Smith. We were live tweeting his press conference. He also had Jim Hammond on, fresh out of the Pachyderm Club. If you missed the details, you can hear the minute newscast here at the bottom of every hour here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. We have the minute newscast, which is done by yours truly. We did a little bit of a recap on what happened at the press conference. It turns out Rick Smith has no intentions of retiring, and the coach of the Ottawa basketball team has been moved to a non-teaching position. That's your update on that. From me, the news director here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com as well. I found out that there's an app for truckers that you might be interested in, the My Pilot app, and this is for the pilot truck stops and the Flying J's. It actually tells you which ones have showers, which ones have the different amenities at the different pilot truck stops, and you can just download the My Pilot app, and you can see all the different truck stops for the pilots and Flying J's. Apparently, it's both the same company. And fun fact, Bob Corker actually owns quite a bit of stock in Flying J. I think he might even own Flying J. There's a lot going on between Tennessee and Flying J, which apparently ships coffee in giant trucks if the signs are to be believed. So yeah, you can get My Pilot app and you can find out all the different truck stops that are local to you. You can find out which ones have the showers and such, which is really useful if you're traveling. So if you're a trucker and you got a smartphone, you don't know which apps to get, the My Pilot app might be one of the ones that you want to look into. Something that I'll probably start using because okay, here's a fun story. I'll give you some context for why this is a good app. It's called Stocard, Stocard. And I'm finding out about new apps every day. Different people tell me about them. Stocard, Stocard. And it gives you a little app where you can store all of your different store cards or your store membership cards, your gift cards, what have you, on one app. And the teller teller. The cashier just scans the barcode on your phone. So you put in the number that's on your store card, and then it'll input that so that you can bring it up real quick on your phone, and then the cashier, I keep wanting to say teller for some reason, the cashier will scan it on your phone instead of you having to have a whole bunch of store cards on your phone or on your wallet. You can store them. And here's a fun reason why this is a good app to have. My dad has a giant keychain, and you know how all the different stores will give you those little keychain cards. Like I've got one for Food Lion. I don't know why, because I never use it, but I got one for Food Lion. And my dad has like 80 of them, and he's had all of them for like 30 years. So there's the most grody, awful looking little cards that you've ever seen. Somehow they still scan. I don't know how. The lamination's coming off. The cardboard is all like nasty and wet because he crawls around under the house with his keychain. He's got the janitor keys. I keep telling him, please, Dad, don't wear the janitor keys. They look bad. They sound bad because I can hear you coming from a mile away. I don't know why he does it, but Dad's a great guy, whatever. But he could really use the Stocard app. So if you're the guy who has the janitor keys for some reason, you don't need them anymore with Stocard. I mean, honestly, do you still need the keys to your suitcase from 1982? Probably not. Are you a janitor? In which case, you don't need the janitor keys. Janitor keys, in case you don't know, is the huge keychain that is then stored on a carabiner, which you clip to a belt loop. And I know so many dads who have them. I think it's just a dad thing. If I ever have kids, I'll just have to have janitor keys. I'm never having kids if that's the case. My gosh. But Stocard is a good app to help alleviate your janitor key situation because you can just use it instead, and you can have all those different store membership cards. You know, Ingles has the, what is it, Advantage, I think? Advantage card, and then Food Lion has the MVP, which makes you feel really cool because you get like 3 cents off on milk. And there's all the different store members. I think Walmart has one. Costco obviously has membership cards because you kind of have to have one at Costco. And there's a bunch of different apps for keeping your store membership cards in one place, but Stocard tends to be the best one. It's also one of the best reviewed ones as well. Well, what about traveling, right? Like, what about our local area? Well, Explore Chattanooga has an app. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more, and we're going to get into games on your phone and which ones are best, which ones are not the best, which ones have the most money behind them, and what's the pay-to-win model. We're going to talk about pay-to-win on your phone, and we'll give you a hint. It means you pay to win. So what happens is, you get a game on your phone, and you can only take like one turn per 30 minutes. But if you pay 99 cents or whatever, you get to move faster. You get more moves, or you get a special power-up attack or whatever. That's the pay-to-win model, meaning that if you put enough money into the game, you can beat the guy who's paying or who's playing for free. So it's a free-to-play game, but you pay to win. That's the model behind it. And we're going to talk about which games are those games. I'll give you a hint. It's all the ones you see advertised because they can afford to have advertisements because they're pay to win, and people fall for it. So I'm going to tell you how to not fall for it, which mobile games are actually really good that you don't have to pay a whole lot for, and which mobile games are still fun that are still free. So if you're having a phone, you need to waste some time, you can either read a book, lame, boring, or you can play a game, which is fun and awesome and not boring at all. So that's one thing you can do with your phone. You can read books on your phone too. We're going to talk about the different ebooks and ebook readers and ebook buying services that you can use on your phone, so you don't have to buy a whole nother e-reader just to read books on your vacation. We're going to talk about that here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com, as well as the website. Go to Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube, where you can watch us live like it's on TV. Hot News Talk Radio.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business and becoming self-sufficient. Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. 875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Call me now, 875-5621.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5preparedness.com.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store, CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, the largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. School Superintendent Rick Smith gave a press conference yesterday afternoon. He said that he had transferred Ooltewah High School basketball coach Andre Montgomery to a post where he will not have contact with students. He said that he's been instructed to not go on Ooltewah High campus or any other school campus. Superintendent Smith admitted to some mistakes, saying that he wished he had brought the kids back home faster after hearing about the incident, and he wished he had canceled the basketball season sooner. He noted that he was aware of the petition to call for his resignation, saying, "Resignation has never crossed my mind." A Ringgold man has been arrested after witnesses say he went to a North Chattanooga party brandishing a gun. According to reports, the man's son had been at that party, and the man believed that his son had been stabbed. He went to the house with a gun, according to police. He's been charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault and unlawfully carrying a weapon. He denied pointing the gun at anybody, but police say that others of the party say he did. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect mostly sunny and breezy weather out there through the afternoon. Highs into the upper 40s. Tonight, turning colder again. Lows 21 to 23. For Wednesday, sunny, chilly, highs lower to middle 40s with more sunshine. Pleasant Thursday, back into the 50s. More cold is ahead, so let Dodge City Ski Shop keep you and your family toasty warm with long underwear, wool socks, and Columbia jackets for all shapes and sizes. That's Dodge City, East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Pay to win. Why would you want to pay a game to win? Right? That seems like it kind of sucks all the fun out of it, doesn't it? Well, kind of maybe for some people, and others just like to pay to win for some reason, I guess. This is Binary here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. For some odd reason, people like to pay to win. Why? Good question. Not sure. We're going to go into the whole idea of pay to win so you don't get sucked in. You end up paying a bunch of money, or your kid, worst case scenario, ends up spending a bunch of money. I know people who, oh boy, do I know people who that has happened to. So we're going to talk about that and how you can avoid having that happen. Okay, so Angry Birds is one of those games that like everyone has played or has on their phone. Angry Birds is super mega popular with basically everyone, and there's good reason for it. It's a pretty fun game, and there's like 40 bajillion different versions of it too. Well, here's the thing about Angry Birds, and I'm not knocking it, right? It's not a bad game. It's even got its own movie somehow. I don't know how. It's not a bad game. It's got great marketing behind it. Merchandise, makes tons of money. Advertising, right? There's a bunch of ads that play. And there's not a whole lot of the whole pay-to-win thing. Because honestly, there is some of that where you can pay some money to get like power-ups. And then it makes some of the levels easier to win. But you can beat the game without paying. Like, it is possible to beat Angry Birds without paying any money for it. So that's good. And it makes money off of the merchandising and the ads, probably more than they make cash off of people buying anything in the game itself. Now, those are called in-game purchases, by the way, where you buy something within the game. It's called a in-game purchase. Surprising, right? Well, the thing about pay-to-win games is sometimes it's nigh impossible to actually beat the game without paying extra money, or it's impossible to pay to beat the game within the space of like a year without paying a bunch of money. Yeah. Okay, so let's go over some of the worst defenders here. Back in the day, there was Farmville, where people would dump so much money into Farmville, it was ridiculous. It was actually kind of crazy how much money people dumped into Farmville. I don't know people, I heard of people who spent hundreds of dollars on actual just mobile games. Like, people would actually spend hundreds of dollars to win a game, and there's a psychological reason for it. Virtual items in our minds have similar value to real non-physical or to real items, right? Like, if there's an item in a game, it has a similar value in our heads to an item that is actually real. And we have a tendency to want to collect things, right? Like, I collect all sorts of stupid things, but I don't go over the top with it most of the time. I don't collect like millions and millions of little things, but in games, you can collect millions and millions of things, and you feel accomplished when you do it. There's a psychological reaction going on there. It's a real thing. You really do feel a psychological high from collecting a bunch of in-game items. And for some people, paying for those items is just as fine as earning them through grinding or whatever. Counter-Strike, the PC game, is a prime example of that, where people will pay a stupid amount of money to have a knife that is functionally the same as the regular base level knife, but it has a different look to it. It's like shiny. And I'm not one to want to spend money on games, honestly. So yeah, I tend to really not want to spend any money at all on a game. I'll spend money to buy one, but I won't spend money to buy items within the game. That just seems silly to me. But some people have a different mindset. EA, the game manufacturer, is one of the worst offenders. So if you buy a game like Sims, right, the Sims on your phone, or if you get a game like Boom Beach is the one that has tons of marketing behind it. I've seen ads for Boom Beach in the movie theater, for heaven's sake. There was Clash of Clans. There was that other one that has Arnold Schwarzenegger advertising it. There's the one that had Kate Upton advertising it. All these different ads for all these different mobile games. And the reason that these mobile games make so much money is because a lot of them are pay-to-win games, meaning that you essentially are paying money in the game to win. You're getting money you're paying for like an in-game upgrade or something. You're paying money for like a power-up or to go faster so your turns don't take as long. The Clash of Clans was classic for that, where you had to take a turn like every 30 minutes. You had to wait after you made an attack, and it was stupid. That's a dumb way to do it. But again, people paid tons of money into it, and subsequently the company behind it made a bunch of money. Same went for Zynga, the French company that made Farmville, and Words with Friends, I think, is also a Zynga game. There's lots of those Facebook games that started out as there's lots of mobile games that start out as Facebook games and then evolved into mobile games later on. But yeah, pay to win, it's just avoid it. The thing with kids spending money, though, is a little bit different, because a lot of times kids just don't know any better, right? And Google actually has a pretty good system for keeping you from spending money inadvertently, where you have to have a confirmation code to spend money on a game, which is a good way to do it. But still, kids can figure these things out. So if you have a kid who has, say, like an iPod Touch or just a little Android phone or whatever, keep in mind that if your credit card information is stored on there, like say they asked to buy a game and you let them, then your credit card information could then be used again to buy items within that game. I know where that's happened before with my next door neighbor. Actually, his daughter's really young, and she really likes Angry Birds, and she's ended up racking up like tens of dollars, like maybe $20 in charges for just little power-ups within the Angry Birds game. And it's dumb. It's really dumb, but it happens all the time because kids don't know any better, right? Like, you got a 4 or 5-year-old kid. They just like playing the game on the phone. They're not going to know that money has an intrinsic value and that there's not an unlimited supply of it. Kids tend to not be much smarter than the Federal Reserve. They don't understand terms like money supply, economics, free markets. They don't get that stuff. You know, they're kind of like liberals. They don't get that stuff. So you got to teach them. And unlike, liberals, you can actually teach kids. But that's a story for another day, right? But anyway, yeah, you got to be careful about that because kids tend to spend money without you knowing it. If you've ever let your kid handle a credit card before, you know how bad that can be. But yeah, so there's a lot of different apps out there that are pay to win. I just avoid them. Don't bother with them. They're wastes of collective time. I was looking online trying to find what is it? It's a traffic camera, the SmartWay cameras from TDOT. And I was surprised to find that TDOT does not have an official SmartWay camera app. I was kind of shocked about that, actually. Atlanta and Georgia do have official camera apps, but for some reason, TDOT does not. I don't know why, but it doesn't. TDOT just doesn't have an official SmartWay camera app for whatever reason. I don't get it. I think it's silly, but it doesn't. TEMA has one for ReadyTN, which again is the one that looks really bad. The TEMA app looks atrociously bad, but it does exist. You can use it. It's just atrociously bad looking. It's not functionally, it's not bad, but visually it's atrocious. It hurts my head to think about the TEMA app. It really is that bad. It's awful, but it works fine. Functionally great, aesthetically appalling. But anyway, they need to hire a better dev team, or don't, because tax dollars go into that. Maybe instead of spending tax dollars on like frivolous projects, we could be spending it on better mobile apps, which maybe would be another frivolous project. Who knows? Instead of spending millions of dollars on designing the corporate logo for the state of Tennessee, maybe we could have spent it on a better looking mobile app for ReadyTN. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. Just a bit of a suggestion for the folks over in Nashville, or Knoxville, I should say. Just a little bit of a suggestion for the folks over there. Maybe it's a better idea to spend money on useful things than it is to spend money on silly things that don't look very good anyway, like the new Tennessee corporate logo, which looks silly. It looks like a scratch-off ticket or something. It just looks weird. Plus, it's hard to read, and it's not very aesthetically pleasing either. It needs more marble statues if it wants to be aesthetic. But anyway, so Atlanta actually does have a traffic camera app. For some reason, TDOT doesn't. I'm shocked. Maybe it does exclusively on the iPhone, and I just can't get it on my Android phone, in which case it's just bad design and bad development. Who knows? But if you want to watch Tennessee TDOT SmartWay cameras, you can do it on the TDOT app on the computer. It's not really an app, it's a website. So all you have to do is go to TDOT. I think it's actually maybe smartway.com. I'm typing it in right now. Yeah, it's smartway.tn.gov/traffic, which is the most annoying URL you can ever use, but it's smartway.tn.gov/traffic if you want to look at the traffic cameras. And it's a little bit convoluted to do because once you go to that website, you have to go to the upper right-hand corner and click on feature menu and then traffic cameras. So I know, kind of convoluted. It's annoying, but once you get the hang of it, it works out pretty well. And you can see what the traffic conditions are like with that traffic app on your computer. So you can see red means almost standstill, orange means slow down, and green means business as usual, essentially. And then there are little camera icons you can click on so you can see what the traffic is like in those different areas. They're along almost all the major highways. They're along all the major highways, and they're not along some of the smaller roadways. So, for instance, it's not on Highway 58. There are no traffic cameras on 58 for some reason, but they're all along 153 and 24, 75, and 27. So you can get traffic cameras on all those. The 24-75 split is the hotbed for traffic incidents. So if you want to watch it, you can actually. Just go to smartway.tn.gov/traffic or just do a quick Google search for Chattanooga SmartWay cameras, and you can then watch them that way. So if you want to watch traffic cams, you actually can, and it doesn't look terrible. Hey, another website that I like to use a lot, actually Duke from Preparedness 5, the Patriot Prepper Show, which is on every Thursday from 11 to 1 here on Hot News Talk Radio. He actually showed me about this little website, and it's really good. HC 911 is the name of it. And it's a Hamilton County 911 database, essentially. It shows you what's going on. It's hc911.org. I wanted to be sure it was .org and not .net or .com or whatever. But hc911.org is actually a great website. It tells you about the 911 dispatch. So it gives you a quick little readout of the 911 active incidents and just what's going on at the 911 center. So if you hear sirens go by, the first thing that I always jump on is hc911.org, so then I can read what's going on basically immediately. Like right now, there's a disorder on Market Street. There's deceptive practice on Tunnel Boulevard. There's a motor vehicle accident with no injuries on Thrushwood Drive in Chattanooga. See, so you can get all sorts of really good information like that, EMS calls, and that in combination with a police scanner can get you a crazy amount of information about what's going on. I was using a police scanner and an app similar to this one when the July 16th attacks happened, and I was able to get a crazy amount of information from that. It was very, very useful for reporting, and it just made for a lot better reporting on our end and probably other journalists' ends too. So that's one great way to make yourself informed. It's a great way to keep yourself better informed because these days there's so much information, right? In the neo 21st century, there's a lot of information that just gets thrown at you, right? Like, it gets kind of bad, honestly. In the 21st century, there's so much information just flying at you, hitting you in the face, that sometimes it's hard to discern what's true and what isn't, what's good source, what's not good source. It gets really obnoxious, just gets thrown at you. Well, two different apps that we use here at the radio station a lot, actually, that help us out are Feedly and Flipboard. So I use Feedly mostly. That's my favorite one. It's a news aggregate app, if that makes any sense at all. So what it does is it takes a whole bunch of different news sources, compiles them into one place, so then you can just scroll through them like it's your morning newspaper. And in fact, you can actually add the morning newspaper as a source. You can add the Times Free Press as a source on Feedly if you want to. Be careful, though, because TFP tends to be kind of weird about the paywall. Paywall meaning that you have to pay to get past this splash screen that comes up and covers your screen if you're not a subscriber to the Times Free Press. You get like 30 article views a month, I think. So like one a day, kind of annoying, but if you have a subscription, you can circumvent it. Or if you know someone who has a subscription, you can circumvent it. But anyway, That's a Times Free Press source only. That's the only one besides Forbes that tends to have a paywall that's really obnoxious. All the other ones like Chattanooga, WRCB, WDEF, WTVC, all the different news sources tend to not have paywalls. And certainly we don't at Hot News Talk Radio, because you know what? Radio is free and should be free, no less. It should be free because it's a free public source of information. Really, it's there for the taking. It's like a public water fountain. You use it whenever you want it. It's there when you need it. And if you don't want it, you don't have to use it. That's the beauty of radio, is you tune in when you need it, when you want it. And if you don't have to. No big deal. So radio is like that. And you can go to hotnewstalkradio.com to actually listen to the radio on the website, hotnewstalkradio.com, to listen to our radio station here on the web. You can also get the TuneIn Radio app for your smartphone. That's TuneIn Radio on your smartphone, where you can listen to Hot News Talk Radio on your phone that way. If you have Bluetooth in your car, then you can listen to Hot News Talk Radio over Bluetooth in your car. And that's another great way to listen to us streaming live. All you have to do, go to Hot News Talk Radio on the TuneIn Radio app that works on your iPhone, works on the Android phone, works on BlackBerry, Windows Phone, any phone platform you've got. You can listen to Hot News Talk Radio on it, and that's a great way to listen. That's actually how I do it if I'm way out of range of the signal. I went to Canada, when was it? Almost exactly a year ago. And when I was there, I used the TuneIn Radio app to listen live to Hot News Talk Radio just so I can keep up on what was going on. You can also subscribe to Hot News Talk Radio while you're on there. And that way you can be alerted whenever the broadcast goes out and cuts back in. Whenever there's an important broadcast, we'll alert you on the TuneIn Radio app. And you can also follow us on Twitter. Hot News Talk Radio is on Twitter. You'll get local news updates, national news updates, all the good stuff. Hot News Talk Radio is on Twitter, so be sure to follow us there. And you can see all of our updates there live. We were live tweeting, actually, the State of the Union, not State of the Union, pardon me, the news conference that Superintendent Rick Smith was giving yesterday. We were live tweeting what he had to say on the press conference. We were giving sort of footnotes, bullet points of what he was doing, Cliff's notes, you might say, Cliff's notes on what Rick Smith was saying at the press conference. We were live tweeting it, and Sheriff Hammond as well when he came up to the podium. So if you want to keep informed about what's going on locally, go to Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter, and you can see all of our updates there. It's a great way to stay informed on Hot News Talk Radio. So we've talked about free-to-pay mobile apps. We talked about the Atlanta, Georgia cameras, the MyPilot app, NOAA, Stokard. Now we're going to talk about Explore Chattanooga. Explore Chattanooga actually has an app that's really dang good. What it does is it lists and maps attractions, I should say. It has accommodations, event schedules, all that good stuff. Now, I should warn you, Explore Chattanooga, it's not really a warning, it's a disclaimer. Explore Chattanooga is actually a organization of sorts. So it's not like it's some independent app put together by independent sources. It's actually an organization. And Explore Chattanooga will sponsor different events that are going on. But they tend to be pretty good about listing all the different stuff that's really important. So it'll map different attractions wherever they may be, where you can stay for accommodations, and it actually does have an event schedule, just whatever's going on in the area. And Explore Chattanooga actually has a website, too, that you can go to if you want to know about different stuff going on in the area. And no, I'm not being paid by Explore Chattanooga to say that. Maybe someday, but not today. I'm not being paid by Explore Chattanooga to say that. It's just my recommendation from me to you. If you really want to stay informed about what's going on in the Chattanooga area, Explore Chattanooga is a great way to do that. And, of course, you can always tune into Hot News Talk Radio, where we'll tell you about different events and different things that are going on in our area here at Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com as well. Google actually has a pretty good service where it will tell you what's going on locally. If you want to know about different restaurants in our area, you can actually use you can use Google to tell you, believe it or not. And Google has a great way to sort of source and aggregate all the different events that are going on in our area. Where locally there are a lot of different restaurants, right? And it's hard to tell which ones are good, where they are, different reviews, all sorts of little things. So actually you can use Google to help you out there, and it's super easy. So all you have to do is say, okay, Google, give me local restaurants in my area.
Here are the listings for restaurants within 0.5 miles.
And there are actually quite a few, because we're pretty central here in Hickson. We're near quite a few different restaurants and local ones. And I can tell you, say, okay, Google, give me restaurants in Chattanooga.
Here are the listings for restaurants.
And I can then sort them by different criteria. So I have open now, top rated, cheap, upscale. I get more options. I can sort it by price range, by rating. So it has to be at least 2 stars, at least 3 stars, at least 4 stars. What time is it open? What style of food is it? This came in handy, really handy Saturday, actually, when I was out. It was really handy to find out what restaurants were in my area and when they were open, because we were out kind of late, actually. So this is a great way to sort of find out what's in your area, what's local, what kind of food it is. It's listing all the different local restaurants and even some of the chains too. But it's a great way to stay informed about what exactly is open in your area. Because one of the things that's really frustrating and that has happened to me way too often is you'll see about, say, a restaurant you hear about that's really cool, and you'll be out with friends, and you'll say, hey, why don't we go to, Joe's whatever restaurant? I heard it was really good. And you all go over there, and guess what? It's closed. There's not much more frustrating than that. Well, if you use the Google app, that probably won't happen to you, and you can do that with Google Now. You can get that on the iPhone. You can get it on Android. It actually comes with most distributions of Android. So if you have an iPhone, you can still use Google Now, and Siri will help you out with that too. You don't have to use Google Now. Siri will do most of the same stuff that Google Now does. It's really just a matter of preference. Personally, I think Google Now tends to be a little bit better in its voice recognition. But again, it comes down to a matter of preference. Which do you like better? Do you like Siri or do you like Google Now? It's kind of up to you. You can use whatever you want. It's just whichever one you think works the best for you. So it's all a matter of preference. Again, I like Google Now just because I use Google for basically everything, having an Android phone. So it just tends to work the best for me. And one of the coolest things that I can do actually is, because I have Google Play Music installed on my phone, is I can actually tell Google to start playing music. Like, for instance, okay, Google, play Miami by Discarded.
Sure.
And it'll actually start playing music for me. So all I have to do is just tell it to, and it starts playing music. And there it goes. So that's one great, really amazing way to make sure that you can find music easily, because that's kind of an obscure track, honestly. It's not one that you could easily find. And you can find all sorts of really obscure music with just Google. Even if it's mainstream, too, you can ask it to play whatever you want. My Humps by Kesha, if you want. Not Kesha. Who was it who did that one? That was Fergie, right? You can find all sorts of mainstream music, obscure music, any music you want, you can find it there really easily just by asking for it. Siri will do most of the same stuff too. The fun thing that I like about Google over Siri though is you don't have to tell Siri to search for something, you don't have to tell Google to search for something. It just does it. And with Siri, sometimes it tends to not understand for some reason. I don't know why. It just tends to not, and it's kind of weird. And again, I've not had a whole lot of negative experience with Siri. It's just I like Google better. I guess I'm prejudiced. I'm kind of prejudiced. I'm kind of racist against Siri, honestly. I think Siri is inferior, honestly. I think Siri is the inferior specimen when compared to Google Now. That's just me, though. Maybe I'm a little bit Siriist. But anyway, that's just my perspective on things. Hey, coming up next, we have Colin Cowherd. He is the best sports programmer, or sports show host, I should say, in the world. His predictions are kind of really good. His humor is really funny, and he just runs a good show. And that's coming from someone who's really not into sports. I care about the Bulldogs when they're on, and that's about it, honestly. I watched part of the Clemson game yesterday, the Clemson Roll Tide, what the heck is it? Crimson Tide game. I watched part of it. Again, I don't really care about Alabama or Clemson. So it wasn't really a big deal to me, but it was an interesting game anyway. It was really closely matched. Both teams did really well. I was actually kind of excited watching it, believe it or not. I really only care about football when the Bulldogs are playing, though, just because I'm a Georgian and Georgia is the best state in the union. That's not even a matter of opinion. That's just a matter of fact. Colin Cowherd is coming up next here on Hot News Talk Radio. Then we got Sean Hannity. And from 6 to 7, we have Clutch or Keon Rose. He's back from vacation. Clutch or Keon Rose is on right here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Don't forget to get the TuneIn radio app for your phone so you can listen to us streaming live here on Hot News Talk Radio and on YouTube as well. Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube.